For more interesting videos, subscribe to Tech Simplified TV and hit the bell icon for updates. Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of PERL programming in VLSI. In this episode, we are going to talk about various operators in PERL, control structure, if, else, else, file test conditions. These can be used inside the if. Control structures, unless, if versus unless comparison, loops, for loop and Foreach loops, while and do while loops, again loops, until and do until loops, loop control, that is next and last. So this is the menu for today. Let's begin the episode. First we start with operators. So in PERL there are different category of operators. In this particular section we are going to talk about them. So here we start with assignment operator. Equal to is the assignment operator. Plus equal to, minus equal to, star equal to, slash equal to, plus plus, minus minus, percent equal to are all same as they were in C++. I hope you folks know about C and C++ operators. So these are same as you have used in C or C++. Numeric, plus, minus, multiplication, division. These are numeric, that is arithmetic operator. These are same as they were in C and C++. Star is an exponential operator, that is a to the power operator. Percentage is the mod operator, that is very much same as C or C++. Now we come to the relational operator. The numeric comparisons can be done with equal to, not equal to, less than equal to, greater than equal to. These are all same as they were in C and C++. String comparisons. Now this is a new thing that in PERL we will going to discuss. For string, if we are comparing two string, if they are equal, we use eq. Okay, not equal to is ne, less than is lt, less than equal to is le, greater than is equal to gt, and greater than equal to is ge. So these are all comparison operators between two strings, unlike the numeric comparisons. These are very much similar things, but these are applicable to the string comparison. The next one is regular expression matching or not matching operator. So equal to tilde is the matching operator, and not matching is bang tilde. So we will in later sections, when we discuss about the regular expressions, we will see the use of these operators. Okay, so there are more, so let's move on. Logical operator. So these like two pipes, then two ands and a bang. These are or, and not. These are logical operators. String. So in PERL we have a very wide flexibility of using strings. In string we can use the operator dot. This is the concatenation or joining operators. So when we have more than one string, we can just join two string with this dot operator, and the resultant will be another string which will contain the two strings in sequence. X is a repetition operator. Again, this comes under string. So how it operates? If we say have $var is equal to, within quotes, abc, which is a string, x3, it will result about in the var that abc, abc, abc. So 3 times abc. So it is a repetition operator. Okay, for strings, interpolation operator. $name is equal to Howard. Say we assign this variable, and we use another variable, that is gen. Within that we use double quotes, and then we write $name then university. So I think here there is a typo here. So this will be Harvard University instead of Harding. So there came a typo, and this not $name variable actually got replaced within the double quotes. So that's why the double quotes is called the interpolation operator. So these are a couple of operators. Let's move to the next set of operators. These are file input output operators. So this will be when we are saving a file in a disk or reading a file from the disk, these operators will be used. Okay, so there will be a separate section on this particular file IO, but let's have a look into the operators. This less than operator acts as a read operator in file IO. The greater than operator acts as a write operator. Then two of the greater than operator acts as a append operator. Pipe then dash acts as a output pipe operator, and dash then pipe acts as a input pipe operator. These are the 5 input output operators for file operations. Okay, so we'll see details in the file IO sections. So these are, we are done with the operator section. So let's move on. Next, this section comes as our control structures. So let's begin. First control structure is if-elsif-else. So if you look at the spelling carefully, here you will see that here we have written if then dash else if, ELS if, not ELSE. E is missing, so this is a syntax. So don't make a typo here. Be very much cautious that E is missing in the else if block. Okay, and the else is as usual ELSE. Okay, so here when one of the condition is found to be true, the block is executed and all the remaining branches are skipped. We are talking about if-elsif-else block. Okay, so one particular block becomes true, others become irrelevant. Okay, so here is an format. If condition 1 is true, we have the statement to be executed here. And if you look carefully in the syntax, so the condition comes under the first bracket, while the curly braces, that is a second bracket, will contain the statements. Else if, similar way, we'll have the second condition. If condition 2 is true, then we execute some more statement, else we execute some other statement, and here we close the else block. Okay, so this is how our if-elsif-else structure we write. So we can write a single if else, if and else, that is okay. And if we want to have more than one if condition, we can increase the number of else if block. Okay, so the first one will be the if. Next, the next block will be else if, and it will continue with more else if. So this can be increased any number of times based on your logics needed. Okay, and else will be a single. So if will be a single and else will be a single. Else if can be many number of times. Okay, okay, so we are done with this, and there is one more thing in this page, that is single if condition statement. So here the writing style is different. So the statement comes at first if the condition is true. So this statement will be executed if the condition is true. Remember, sometime we need to use this just to make the our code very sleek and beautiful. So in this case, we cannot use any else. So this is inline if. Okay, this is inline if condition, and we can use it, but there will be no else if, there will be no else in this case. Okay, so we are done with this section. Let's move on. we are seeing some example here, if else if else example. So first line goes our hashbang user bin perl dash w. W is for warning. We use ustrict. Say we write my price is equal to 21000, that is 21k. If price is greater than 30,000, we print high. Else if the price is greater than 20,000 and the price is less than 30,000, we print medium. Else if the price is less than 20,000, we print low. Else we print price is out of range and we close the else. So guys, here you can see that I have just mentioned that the else if blocks can be used many number of times, and here we have used 2 times because we have 3 conditions to be checked, and so they can go in 3 if blocks. Instead of 3 if, we have used if, 1 if and 2 else if. Okay, and the rest of the default message, where we will go where the price is out of range, goes to the else. Okay, so this is how we are going to use this if else if else. Okay, I hope this example give you a quite good example. You try at your end and experiment, and please don't forget to comment. Okay, we are done with this example. Let's move on to the next one. Here the file test conditions. Okay, these can be used in if. Let me bring my mouse pointer so that I can exactly point out. Okay, so here these are R, W, X, okay, and O. Okay, so these we know from our Unix concept that file or directory is readable, writable, executable, or owned by a user. We can use inside the if condition block with the respective file name. The file name maybe we contain in a variable, that is a scalar, or it could be the direct file name. How we are programming, that is up to us. Okay, and here this is dash E, the file or directory exists, dash Z, file exists and has 0 file size. Okay, so these are quite useful, because why I'm sharing this, because in VLSI, whenever you are using Perl, many times you have to open a file and check it and close it. So you have to multiple times use these things to make your code perfect. Otherwise what happens, that there is a file that doesn't exist and your code will stop there. So that is very bad code. So these file test things will be very much in use in VLSI. S, now let's come to the S is file or directory size exists and has a non-zero size. Okay, and F dash F is, it's a plain file. Now if we want to check is a directory, dash D is there for us. Dash L is entry is a symbolic link. So symbolic link, we know from Unix that we can create symbolic link, and if we want to check whether the file or name which we have got is a symbolic link, we can use this dash L for to check in inside if. So dash T is the file is with text, and dash B is file is binary. So these all file test operators are used in the automation process in VLSI. When you are executing one particular command, then you are opening its result file which has come as the output, and you have to check how it is. So sometimes this file could be a binary, or it could be a text file, or whether you check whether it at all exists. So these file test conditions will be very much necessary. So have a note on these particular file tests. So I kept my screen static so that you can write or take a snapshot. Okay, so we are done with this section. Let's move on to the next one. Unless. Okay, so sometime you want to stay idle if the condition is true. Okay, now we have used if block. There we what we use, that we use execute the statement when the condition is true. But if the scenario is exactly negated, okay, and we want to do nothing if the condition is true, then unless block comes into the picture. Do something only the condition is false. The unless block serves this particular purpose. This block of code execute only provided condition is false. So it is exactly the negated condition of the if. Okay, so let's see the syntax. Unless the condition is false, statements or one statement whatever we have, and then we close the block. So it do not have any else or something, it just have unless. Another way we can use it is a inline unless. So in that case the statement goes at the first place, the statement, then unless, and then the condition is false. Okay, it is called one line unless condition or inline unless condition. So this is also used for beauty of the code. Okay, so this is the description. Okay, so let's see some example here, unless example. Okay, here in the pink box our code will go, and in the black box I'll show the outputs. Okay, first line always is the hashbang user bin PERL, where the PERL is installed. Okay, the next we know it's just a generic comment that unless block executes only the condition is false. Use strict, we are using the strict module. My $a is equal to 1, we set the variable or initialize the variable with 1 while declaring it. Inline unless check. Okay, so here first we'll check the inline unless condition. Print PERL unless is used with a very simple condition only, unless $a less than 0. So now if you look into the condition, $a we have written less than 0, and just before it we have set $a equal to 1. So our this particular condition, a less than 0, become false. Okay, just immediately after the declaration in the previous line. So it output comes as printed PERL unless used with a very simple condition. So this is how the false condition works. Let's see some more example. Okay, again we set the value of a to be 10 unless $a is greater than equal to 0, print condition 1. First unless is closed, we write the second unless. If $a less than equal to 0, print condition 2. So now if this second part of the code is executed, okay, so $a is equal to 10, so which particular block of condition is true and which block is false? So $a greater than equal to 0 is true. Okay, and $a less than equal to 0 is false. So theoretically when we execute, condition 2 should become there, and once we execute, what we see, condition 2 is printed. So this is how you can use a unless. The condition depends upon your test case where you are using it. Okay, but this is a generic example, and in this example we have just elaborated how the unless can be used, or the code inside the unless block can be used or executed once the condition is false. Okay, and we have also checked in the second part of this code that if the condition is true, nothing happens. Okay, so that is the definition, that if the condition is true, nothing will happen. If the condition is false, it will happen. So we are done with this example. Let's move on to the next slide. If versus unless comparison example. So here our code will go into the pink background while our output will go to the black box. Okay, so let's begin. So first goes our PERL installation, that is hashbang user bin PERL. Use strict. We are using here single line if and unless condition. Okay, so side by side, if is printed, if 0, print, then we write if block 1. So block 1 will be a code of block pair of if and unless. So now we write the next unless 1. So for the same condition 0, unless block 1. So why I am giving this example, because maybe in C you have not seen such unless condition, but here it is new, so you have to know the usage, and hence this elaborative example will make your mind very much clear when to use the unless. So here each of the two line I have marked as block 1. First one belongs to if and second belongs to unless. Now I put the same condition, in if and unless. Here I have put 0. So technically this is a false condition. Which one comes here? Unless block 1. So print happens for the unless block. The next set of pair of the commands are if 1 minus 1, it is block 2, and if unless 1 minus 1, unless block 2. So which one will be printed? 1 minus 1 executed 0, I think. Unless will be printed here because 0 is false. If within double quotes, it's a blank, nothing is in between, comes in the block 3. So unless, again double quotes, block 3. So I think this is false. So the unless will be there. Yes, I'm correct. So unless will be in the third block. Okay, executed. So guys, when all these codes are executed, right, both if and unless are checked, and only which is false, okay, in that case unless code is executed, and once that code is the condition is true, if is executed. Though this is the purpose of this example. The next one I write if 1 print block 4, unless 1 print unless block 4. So here the condition 1 means true, so if will be printed, correct. We have printed if. Next we print 0 0 and block 5 and unless 0 0. So in this case again we have 0 unless block 5 is printed. Okay, again goes if 0.00. So this is a real number. Okay, so again if we put this, let's see what happens. Again unless is printed. So because 0.00 is false. So block 7 we put undef. We definitely know this is a false. Undef is false, so unless will be executed, and that's correct. Okay, so we now comes a good question that is going to tease your mind. If false, print if block 8, and if unless false, print unless block 8. So this can come as an interview question to you. Okay, what happened in this case, because it's special. Here this quote within false is not actually a false. If you have come across the previous episode, there I have explained why. So in this case the if block is executed. Okay, this false string is not actually a false. Okay, so that's why if block executed. Again true, and unless with true, okay, block 9 will be executed. So here in both the last two pair of if and else, if and unless, here the string is valued true. Only a null string, which is a blank double quote, become false. Okay, that we have seen earlier. I'll ask you to try out such examples. So here also I have given the throughout example how we can use the true and false conditions in PERL. Okay, so all of these things, all of these individual blocks can come as a interview questions. Okay, so we are done with this example. Let's move on to the next one. You guys don't forget to do comment and like when you are liking the video. That helps the video in a very good way. This thing may be very simple or small thing to at your end, so but it makes the video great. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. So we are entering the next section, which is loops. Here we'll talk about different loops in PERL. Okay, so first is a for loop. So this is very similar to the for loop that you have used in C. Okay, I assume that you have learned C because that is the very first language people generally learn. And in case you have not, I think this particular description is sufficient for you. So if you have any question, don't forget to put in the comment section. So here in this block, yellow block, we are going to the description. So the for loop has 3 counters. It is very much C style. Initialization counter, the first counter. The next counter is the condition checking counter. Third one is the increment or decrement counter. So the counter, when we mention that counter must be increased or decreased, otherwise it's not a counter, right? And the condition should be checked at each iteration or each step. Okay, so this each iteration the condition is checked at the in between counter, that is condition checking counter. So the format is like this. We are using a code example here. Here we use strict, and before that we have used the PERL installation, hashbang user bin PERL. my $I. Here we are defined the counter variable, okay, for $I equal to 1, $I less than equal to 10, I plus plus, and we print I and we close it. So I'll ask you to try out this code at your end, okay, uh, in the similar way that the hello world has been shown in the previous episode. Okay, you follow, if you have not seen the first episode, please go and see it. So in the same way, you write this code in a text and then make it executable and execute in your shell, or in case you are using a Windows system, there you source it as a perl then space then the perl file name, okay, in the particular Windows perl shell. Okay, so here it's very much similar to the C structure, C for loop structure, and here we have 3 counters, and I think it is easily explained here, and we are done with this slide. Next we come for each loop. So guys, if you have learned C, you have not came across the for each loop. So here you will see the for each loop, which is very different. Okay, for loop is very similar to the C programming for loop, but here it is different. So for each loop operates on each element of an array. So in I have not discussed the array or the any part of the data structure till now. It will be discussed in upcoming episodes. So here the for each operates on each element of the array. This array may come from the keys of the hash, which is called also called as the associative array. Some array operations, okay, that is reverse or sort, are allowed in the for each loop itself. So when we are using the brackets where we are using the array, we can do some array operations like reverse or sort. Okay, default variable can take place if the element is not specified. So this array may be default array of arguments. So when we are having arguments, right, at the rate underscore can be the argument, so that can come as can be used as an array in the for each loop. So the structure of the for each loop is like for each then element of array. So the element is a variable here, so it will be a dollar element when we are writing the for each loop. We will see in the next example. Okay, and of array means this is a at the rate array, some array will be there. Okay, statements on each element. So on each element, whatever we want to do, we will do here. Okay, here we are printing it, print dollar element. Okay, so we close it here. And the next example here, the next format rather than example, the format is for each of array. So here we have omitted the element. Here what we see, we in previous episode we have shared that there is a default variable. So dollar underscore takes the place of the element here, and here we print dollar underscore. So and we close it. So this the second type of application helps your program to be much more faster, because there are less number of variables, which means that you are consuming less amount of memory. So if the default variable is used, default variable anyhow there it is, but it is not used. But if you use it, so you are using less amount of memory. Okay, so this is one more thing that you have learned in this particular slide. Okay, and let's see some examples. Here starts our code in this pink block. Hashbang user bin Perl. We are using strict my $le. We have defined it but not initiated it. Here the array comes from the output command of ls. So ls is a Unix command. Output of the ls will give the resultant array. For each $le, and within the first bracket we write backtick, within backtick 2 backticks ls star.pl. So this, if we execute in a Linux shell, will list out all the perl files .pl files in that particular directory. Okay, for your testing purpose you can use any file extension that you presently have in your directory. Okay, and here then we do what, we print $le and then \n. So this will print at each new line the particular file name. So and then we close the for each. So this is a very simple example of the for each loop where the array is generating from the system command. So why I have given this thing, this particular example, because in VLSI automation you multiple times you have to use this kind of arrays, so that which are coming from your Unix shell, so that you have the files and you are operating on each file. Say you are sourcing or changing some Verilog files. There is a number of Verilog files in a design, so you are operating on the entire directory. So one by one they will be called by this example. So this is quite of application oriented example, so that's why I have given here. We're done with this particular slide, and let's move on to the next one. So here again we have another example, starts with the hashbang user being PERL. So use strict. So here just before starting the code, sometimes I mentioned dash w and sometimes not. So it's not specific to the particular code. Okay, so general practice, it's good that you always mention the dash w. That PERL will warn you about if any day there is some compilation error or something. Okay, so here let's come back to the code here, and here we have defined our custom array. So that is my at the fruits is equal to, then array the elements are orange, apple and mango. I'll go in detail in the array in the data structure part or episode. Okay, but for now you just live with it. Okay, dollar my fruit. Okay, and then for each dollar fruit from at the rate fruits. Okay, so from the array of fruits, each element will come to the dollar fruit, and we can then print it. Okay, and then we close it. So this is very simple. That's you have defined the array with proper structure, and then you are one by one iterating on the array element. So the beauty of this for each loop is that when you use the for loop, right, you generally operate on an index of an array, but here once you use this, right, you don't have to care about the index. In if there is a case where you have to iterate by index, you have to use the for loop instead of for each loop. And if you have no restriction of moving by the uh, index, then you can use the for each loop. So this is the basic difference of for and for each loop. Why I have said that, because in C you don't have this concept, but in PERL you have this concept, so that's why I have mentioned here. Okay, we are done with this particular example. Let's move on to the next one. While. Okay, while, here goes our code. So first, while the condition is true, the block executes the statements. Use next or last as needed. So in the later part of this tutorial, okay, we'll show that how next and last are used. So until then you just live with it. In today's episode only this will be discussed. So here goes our closure of the while block. Okay, and this way we can use the while another way of there is a condition true and there is a counter if there is a exhaustive counter, right? So this is typically associated when you are operating on a file line by line basis. Okay, we have a file handler until that has exhausted. So that's why generically I have written until the counter has exhausted, execute statements. Okay, increment or decrement the counter as needed, and use next or last as needed. So and we close it. So these are the two type of while application. Here I have just generically said that specific example will come later. Okay, while is this, so you can see the structure of while is very much similar to the C structure. So okay, let's move on to the next slide. Here we are done. Do while. Okay, so do while happens that do comes at first, then we execute some statements while the condition is true. So this is very similar to the C structure. Okay, so nothing more to talk about, and you try out with different condition at your end. So do execute some statements or increment decrement, and while the counter has not exhausted. So this is a second type of the do. So this happens, right? So so you know the basic difference of do and do while. So here it is the same philosophy. I just I have mentioned the formats due to the course, and we are done with this slide. Let's move on. So until and do until. So the until loop continues executing as long as the test condition is false. So some slides back we have seen a negated condition of if, right? Here if we have a negated condition of while, that will be the until loop. Okay, so the until means this loop continues executing until the condition becomes true. Okay, so here until the condition is false. Okay, once the condition become true, it will stop. Okay, it execute statement next or last can be used here. Okay, and do until is like this: execute statement next or last, okay, and until the condition. Okay, so this is a very much negated condition of while. Okay, you can use it here. It's read as that these things will execute until the condition becomes true. Okay, okay, so here we are done with this section. Let's move on. Loop control. So here we'll talk about next and last. So if you have learned C, you will you know that we have two keywords, break and continue. Here these are the very much similar thing, because we know that we have full control over for loop, but in while loop we may somehow enter into a infinite condition. Sometimes we need to break into the loop, we need, or if in case we need in any of the loops, we need to go to the next iteration by skipping one particular iteration. So these, for these purposes, this next and last, which are I think easily mapped with the um, uh, continue and break. So these can be mapped with the continue and break, which comes from C. So let's see the definitions. Okay, so the next and the last operator allow you to modify the flow of your loop. It is not uncommon to have a special case which you may want to skip, then use next. Okay, or you have a special case which you want to quit. When you encounter it, use last. So these are the basic definitions of next and last. So let's see how these are used. So here I have generically written for each, while, until. So any of them can be there. Okay, and if condition 1, next. So control goes back to the loop counter. Okay, else if condition 2, second condition is there, last, the loop is broken. So the loop is broken, you have come out of the loop. So else print $element. Okay, and we close it here. So here we have seen how the next and last can be used inside any of the loop, for each, while, until. So you just have to couple it with the if else condition to test the condition accordingly. And as we have the inline if condition, there could be an inline next condition. So there will be next if, but in that case we cannot combine both. Okay, to combine both next and last, we have to use it in this way. But you have to but you have unique cases where you want to have want to have the control as per the requirement of the next and last. You can use the inline. Okay, so here we have closed the entire loop here. Okay, so we are done with this section. Thank you guys, we have reached to the end of this episode and hope you liked it. Please don't forget to comment, like and share. Okay, thank you guys, and bye bye.